Well, it's been a roller coaster start for Chelsea to this Premier League season, but they finally bounced back again today. Janusz in quite a difficult match, a London derby of sorts up against West Ham at Stamford Bridge. 2-1 it ended, but it maybe coulda, shoulda, woulda been a draw, 2-2, a late disallowed goal for West Ham. Thoughts on that one? Should it have been a draw?
No, I mean, yeah, you want to go straight to it, right? For sure. In terms of disallowing the goal, I think the referee in VAR made the right decision. It's not that Mendys been great, and we'll get back to it. I mean, I thought he was maybe a little bit at fault on the first West Ham goal as well. Came out here. I think he saw him. When you're a goalkeeper, you're coming out, you see Jared Bowen coming at you. Certainly, he tried to jump over, but he wanted to make sure that the training his left leg stayed in there and made that contact. He knew exactly what he was doing. And of course, we never know what would have happened, right? But the conventional wisdom tells you that when you do this, you want to distract the goalkeeper. So maybe he doesn't get up and get that second ball, because Jared Bowen didn't know that, that Mendy was never going to get to the second ball. But, he just, well, you don't know. You can't just assume. So you're going to try to disrupt the goalkeeper in that. I think that's exactly what Jared Bowen was doing. And Cornet, of course, put that away. Cornet, who came in, by the way, it was in the thick of things, because he had a header which he could have equalized and should have. It was a save there, and Chelsea went the other way, and of course Kai Havertz scored a goal. So he was certainly involved, but I think the decision in terms of not allowing that goal was the correct one.
All right, well, still Chelsea getting that win. Like I said, they needed to steady the ship after the result to Southampton, and after that result, Thomas Tuchel had some pretty honest but harsh words saying that, look, we've been too easy to beat, but now what does a result like this do for Chelsea going forward? And was it impressive enough to at least calm some of the concerns that came from the last match?
No. I mean, mistakes. Weak defending. Look, I mean, you take the points, right? We'll get to the chaos that is Chelsea, because that's exactly what that is. In terms of Thomas Tuchel, look, who am I to tell them? But I'm here, and I will tell them anyway. If I were him, it's great to be honest. It's good for you and I. It's good for all the pundits. But I mean, he's too honest for me. Way too honest. And I think he's got to understand his own position at this moment. He has zero idea what his best 11 is right now. It's a massive turnover in his defense and in Chelsea's defense. I think that chaos that started last year with, of course, Abramovich leaving late to the transfer market to some degree, gotten some players, spent $400 million in the market, which is great, but it's almost as if you're rebuilding constantly. You're trying things. You just got an Aubameyang who's not ready, obviously, to play. I think a little bit of an injury. So you can almost imagine what it may be, right? That back line, I mean, think of it. You have the back line that you trust, that doesn't concede, and now Rudiger leaves, Christensen leaves, Fofana just steps in, right? They buy him and they put him on the pitch, and Koulibaly still learning, suspended once already here. A wonderful goal from Koulibaly, a volley, you say, wow. So a lot of things are happening, but I think it's that transition, that chaos, that nobody at Chelsea can put their hands around very, very quickly. And that's not so easy. What I will tell you this, if I think Thomas Tuchel takes this win, it's a massive win, 3 points against West Ham at home. Didn't look at that way, right? Could have been a loss, could have been a draw, ultimately it's a win. Just tone it down. Forget about that. Embrace your players, because at the end of the day, when I look at this and I look at all the players that they've bought, the talent that's there already, I think Chelsea will be in the top four. This is a good team that right now just needs a little bit of a quiet mode, start to be good defensively, as we've known.
Yeah.
4 set piece goal, another goal conceded from a set piece. Just spend some time in a quiet mode, and I think Chelsea would at the very least be in the top 4.
Well, like you said, Chelsea probably just need a bit more time to figure things out. You mentioned the money that they have spent on transfers. One of those you mentioned as well, Wesley Fofana coming in straight into the deep end. He's been flung in, but he seemed to have, survived a debut pretty well. Did he impress you today, Janusz?
I think he was okay. Yeah, there were moments there. Obviously, if you look at the way the goals were conceded, he was in there somehow. Again, remember Mendy on the cross, maybe could have done better. Mason Mount, could he have done better on the far post when he saw Declan Rice, maybe quicker reaction, not to allow that ball across, because then, of course, it's just a tap in from Mikel Antonio. And I think it was an okay debut in a derby that in the end just got out of hand. It was here, then, and everywhere. And to be quite honest, if you look at defensively, both sides didn't really look great. A derby like this with an ending like this gets an energy, and it's so hard to get your head around this, especially if you Fofana. So I don't remember, because it just finished. I don't remember if I could put him at fault. I think that was a pretty good debut for him when I look at the way the game was developing from the beginning until the last couple of minutes of the game, where it was just an absolute chaos.
Well, final point on Chelsea before we move on to West Ham, because you did bring up an interesting point, and that has been, I suppose, the form of Edouard Mendy, who, usually he's ever the safe hands for Chelsea, someone that they celebrated, between the posts all season long last season. Are you concerned with his form at the beginning of this Premier League season now?
Yes, but I am concerned with Chelsea in general defensively. I've just mentioned. Think of it. I mean, it's an unbelievable rebuild. You've had back 3, 4, or 5 sometimes, depending on how they played, where you didn't have to worry. You trusted everybody. You knew everybody. You knew the strengths and weaknesses, and you knew that Chelsea had a certain level defensively, at least in the back, that they wouldn't go below. And for the most part, that back 3 or 4 was also protected by incredible N'Golo Conte, who's not available, by Jorginho, who didn't start this game, but it's usually great if you think of them being good. And then you had Kovacic, who's just kind of getting back and still not 100%. So when you take out Rudiger, when you take Christensen, when you now think that Thiago Silva at the age of, what's he now, 36, 7, I already forgot, right? Still has to be burdened by just making sure that he's always available. That's not all that easy, right? So Koulibaly just coming in. Look at Ben Chilwell after such a long injury coming in, and what a substitution he has been. Cucurella, maybe not great, but he's just gotten there as well. And Ben Chilwell comes in, a goal and an assist. So I think we know that when he's at his best, Chelsea are going to be fine as well. In terms of Mendy, no, this has not been the same Mendy so far, but I think I'm willing to give him benefit of the doubt, because as I said, I think Chelsea will be fine, and I've always had him in the top 4. I've never had him in a fight for the top spot. So I think topsy-turvy, chaotic, and that's something that Thomas Tuchel has to fix very, very quickly, and that starts with him, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned Ben Chilwell. Good to definitely see him back in the mix as well. We know with a quality player, he's another quality player. Of course, is Mikel Antonio, who got that lone goal for West Ham, a fellow Jamaican brother there. But overall, a tough loss for West Ham to take, because they definitely absolutely went after it today. And we have gotten used now to West Ham competing. We saw how far they went as well in the Europa League. Overall, under David Moyes now, what's the next step?
Well, the next step, unfortunately, I don't know if it involves David Moyes. And I really feel bad, at times talking about that, because I think he's done a tremendous job, much better than I thought, right? I mean, a little bit on the pragmatic side. It's gotten him a long way to Europe and really top 10 finishes. And so you want to give him credit for that. But look, West Ham seem to me are on the verge of maybe making a decision. I consider them a big club. It's a big London club. Now they're in the London Stadium finally. They could probably sell that 3 times over. And I think they've tasted Europe a little bit. They've also tasted being very, very close on a couple of occasions to the top 4. And again, so much credit to David Moyes for that. But you just have a feeling that there is a certain level, if they want to be in the top 4 and they want to be consistently fighting for that at the very least, like they were, but consistently now, then you have a feeling that there's got to be big-time manager. To be in the top 4, you have to have a big-time manager. We've seen that over and over. Yes, you have to have the money, and maybe they're lacking a little bit of that, although it's not like it's a team that hasn't invested. But Alexis, when you think of Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, Thomas Tuchel to a degree, where he's been, the big clubs, the first season when he came in winning the Champions League and all that, right? When you look at that, and even maybe Mikel Arteta, although the jury's out, right? He's a new and inexperienced manager, but you can see the progress, how quickly he's maybe learning and maybe how much he's learned under Pep Guardiola. You just have a feeling that pragmatism a little bit, it'll get you places, but to get those attacking schemes that are necessary sometimes, that's not David Moyes, isn't it? That pragmatism, the defensive organization is great. You just don't see them kind of breaking teams down in variety of ways. So I've said this before. This is not the first time I voiced this, and I give him so much credit. But I think you need somebody special there. I don't have a name. I don't know if there's one. I don't know if there's somebody willing to do that at West Ham. But I think that there will be a need for that.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.